the mysterious whisper. The heart of Ndimu village pulsed with life. Vibrant market stalls lined the dusty roads, selling everything from fresh fruits to colorful beads. Children ran barefoot, their laughter carrying on the wind as they played between the towering baobab trees. These ancient sentinels, their branches twisting like arthritic fingers, stood as witnesses to countless stories of the village, stories of joy, sorrow, and resilience. In one corner of the village, a modest mud brick house bathed in the golden hues of the setting sun. Inside, young Nia folded her clothes neatly into a suitcase. She was leaving for Ukungu Academy, a prestigious boarding school in the bustling city. Her heart swelled with excitement and trepidation. This was her chance to chase her dreams and make her family proud. As Nia stepped onto the veranda, her grandmother, Mama Coco, stood waiting. The older woman, with her deep-set eyes and wisdom etched into her face, took Nia's hands in her own. "Beware the shadow that smiles," Mama Coco whispered, her voice low and urgent. The cryptic warning sent a shiver down Nia's spine. "What do you mean, grandmother?" Nia asked, but Mama Coco only shook her head. "You'll understand in time, child." Nia dismissed the words as the ramblings of an overly protective elder. With a final hug, she boarded the bus that would take her to the city, unaware of the dark journey that lay ahead. The grand arrival. The towering gates of Ukungu Academy loomed before Nia as the bus came to a halt. The buildings were grand, their whitewashed walls gleaming in the sunlight. The air buzzed with excitement and fear as new students, dressed in crisp white and blue uniforms, shuffled into the courtyard. Nia couldn't help but gape at the sprawling campus. It was a world apart from Ndimu, with its neatly trimmed hedges, manicured lawns, and imposing clock tower. But the grandeur couldn't mask the strict atmosphere that hung heavy in the air. Madame Zubida, the headmistress, stood at the center of the courtyard. Her stern face, framed by a perfectly tied headscarf, betrayed no warmth as she addressed the students. "Welcome to Ukungu Academy," she said, her voice crisp and commanding. "We expect excellence, discipline, and respect. Any deviation will not be tolerated." Nia felt a chill as Madame Zubida's eyes swept over the crowd, lingering on her for a moment too long. She shook off the unease, attributing it to nerves. This was her chance to excel, and the hands that linger. The first week at Ukungu Academy was a whirlwind of new faces, challenging classes, and strict rules. Nia tried her best to adapt, but something felt off. One teacher, Mr. Barroza, seemed overly friendly. He was always nearby, offering to help with assignments or praising her efforts in class. At first, Nia appreciated his attention. But soon, his behavior became unsettling. He would place a hand on her shoulder, his touch lingering longer than necessary. Once, in an empty hallway, he leaned in too close while asking about her weekend plans. Nia's stomach churned with discomfort, but she brushed it off. Perhaps she was imagining things. Until the day he cornered her. She had stayed back after class to finish an assignment. As she packed her books, Mr. Barroza approached. "You're very talented, Nia," he said, his voice unerringly soft. "I could help you go far here." His hand reached out, brushing against her arm. Panic flared in Nia's chest. She muttered a quick excuse and fled the room, her heart pounding. Something was very wrong. The warning. That night, Nia confided in her roommate, Zuri. The two girls sat huddled on their bunk bed, the dim dormitory light casting shadows on the walls. Zuri's face turned pale as Nia recounted her experience. "You must be careful," Zuri whispered, her voice trembling. "Those who resist him disappear." Nia stared at her friend, the words sinking like stones in her chest. "What do you mean?" Zuri hesitated, then leaned in closer. "There have been rumors. Girls who spoke out were expelled or, worse. No one knows where they go." Fear tightened its grip on Nia. She realized she couldn't ignore the warning signs any longer. She had to do something, but what? The unseen eyes. Determined to uncover the truth, Nia began watching Mr. Barroza. She noticed a pattern. He always targeted the quiet, vulnerable girls. His charm masked something far more sinister. But it wasn't just Mr. Barroza who made Nia uneasy. At night, she felt eyes on her. Standing by her dormitory window, she'd peer into the darkness, certain someone was watching. The silhouette of a figure would sometimes flicker in the distance, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. The feeling of being haunted gnawed at her. She couldn't shake the sense that her every move was being monitored. The forbidden truth. One evening, Zuri led Nia to an abandoned storage room. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. In a corner, hidden under a pile of old books, they found a box. Inside were letters, dozens of them. Each one was a cry for help, written by girls who had suffered in silence. The words painted a chilling picture of manipulation, fear, and betrayal. "He's a monster," one letter read. "But no one will believe me." Nia's hands trembled as she read the letters. The voices of the past echoed in her mind, urging her to take action. The trap. Nia and Zuri devised a plan. Using a hidden camera, they recorded Mr. Barroza's inappropriate behavior. The footage was undeniable. They sent it anonymously to the school administration, hoping for justice. But instead of action, Nia was summoned to Madame Zubida's office. The headmistress's expression was unreadable as she gestured for Nia to sit. "You've been causing trouble," Madame Zubida said, her voice deceptively calm. "I suggest you let this go. You don't want to be expelled, do you?" Nia's heart sank. The corruption ran deeper than she had imagined. The silent threat. Back in the dormitory, Nia and Zuri huddled together, their fear palpable. They knew they couldn't rely on the administration for help. The system was designed to protect the predators, not the victims. But giving up wasn't an option. They had to find another way. The secret alliance. Hope came in the form of Miss Amoni, a young teacher who had long suspected Mr. Barroza's actions but had been too afraid to act. When Nia and Zuri approached her with the evidence, she agreed to help. Together, they gathered more proof and prepared a formal report to send to higher authorities. It was a risky move, but they had no choice. The power of voices. Instead of staying silent, Nia and Zuri leaked the recordings and letters online. The response was immediate. The story went viral, sparking outrage. Parents stormed the school, demanding justice. Under pressure, the authorities arrested Mr. Barroza. Madame Zubida was forced to resign. The walls of silence and complicity had finally crumbled. The fight isn't over. The victory was bittersweet. Nia knew the problem extended beyond Ukungu Academy. She began visiting other schools, sharing her story and raising awareness about harassment in educational institutions. Her courage inspired others to speak out, creating a ripple effect that spread across the country. The light in the darkness. As Nia packed her belongings to leave Ukungu Academy, she felt a mix of relief and determination. The journey had been harrowing, but it had also shown her the power of speaking out. Organizations reached out, offering scholarships and platforms for her to share her message. As she stepped out of the school gates for the last time, she looked back, knowing she had made a difference. The shadow that smiled had been exposed. And in its place, a new light shone, one of hope, courage, and change. A new purpose. Nia's arrival back in Limu village was met with both joy and curiosity. The villagers had heard whispers of her bravery and determination. Mama Coco, her grandmother, greeted her with a tight embrace, pride shimmering in her eyes. "Nia, you've brought honor to our family," Mama Coco said, holding her granddaughter's face in her hands. But the elder's tone grew serious. You must know, child, that the world will not always welcome the truth you speak. You must prepare for resistance. Nia nodded. She had already seen the cost of speaking out, but she also knew the value of it. She spent her days at home reflecting on the events at Ukungu Academy, her mind racing with ideas. The letters she and Zuri had found haunted her thoughts, and she wondered how many other schools hid similar secrets. One afternoon, as she strolled through the village market, a group of young girls approached her. "You're the one from the news," one of them exclaimed, her eyes wide with admiration. "You stood up to them." Nia realized then that her story had reached farther than she expected. These girls looked up to her, and she felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. She decided it was time to act. Voices in unity. With the support of Mama Coco and a few trusted villagers, Nia began organizing gatherings in Ndimyo. She called them courage circles, safe spaces where girls and women could share their experiences and learn about their rights. Word spread quickly, and soon, the circles became a movement. Zuri, who had also returned home, joined Nia in her efforts. Together, they reached out to nearby villages, encouraging girls to speak up and educating parents about the importance of protecting their children. The courage circles caught the attention of local activists and NGOs. One day, Nia received an invitation to attend a regional conference on gender equality and education. It was an opportunity to amplify her message on a larger platform. Facing the shadows again. The conference brought together activists, educators, and policymakers from across the region. Nia, dressed in her traditional Ndimyo attire, stood out as one of the younger speakers. Her speech was powerful, recounting her journey and the need for systemic change to protect students. But as Nia shared her story, she noticed a familiar figure in the audience. Madame Zubida sat in the back row, her expression unreadable. A chill ran down Nia's spine. Why was she here? After the session, Madame Zubida approached Nia. "You've become quite the inspiration," she said, her tone laced with sarcasm. "But don't forget, not everyone is willing to forgive your methods." Nia stood her ground. "The truth needed to be told, Madame Zubida. And it will continue to be told, no matter who tries to silence it." The encounter left Nia shaken but resolute. She realized that the fight wasn't just against individuals like Mr. Barroza, it was against a culture that allowed such behavior to thrive. Building a legacy. Back in Ndimyo, Nia and Zuri decided to formalize their efforts. They worked with local leaders to establish the Mama Coco Foundation, named after Nia's grandmother. The foundation focused on creating safe learning environments, providing support for victims of harassment, and offering leadership training for young girls. The foundation's work quickly gained traction. Schools began implementing policies to address harassment, and parents became more vigilant. Nia and Zuri traveled extensively, sharing their model with other communities. One day, Nia received a letter from a girl at Ukungu Academy. The school had undergone significant changes since the scandal, and the girl thanked Nia for her bravery. The letter brought tears to Nia's eyes. She realized that her fight had not been in vain. The journey ahead. As the years passed, Nia's work continued to grow. She became a prominent advocate for education and women's rights, her voice echoing in conferences and forums around the world. But she never forgot her roots. Every success was dedicated to the girls whose letters she had found in that dusty box, and to the shadow that once tried to silence her. One evening, as she sat under the baobab tree outside her childhood home, Mama Coco joined her. "You've done well, child," the elder said, her voice filled with pride. "But remember, the fight for justice never ends. There will always be new shadows to face." Nia nodded, gazing at the stars. She knew her journey was far from over. But for the first time, she felt a sense of peace. She had turned her pain into purpose, and her voice had become a beacon of hope for others. If you find this video interesting, like, share and subscribe.